I have to admit that I derive some pleasure in taking on hoary old myths. For example, some economists assert that the interest rate you see on the Treasury bond is not real. You see, it's only nominal. To calculate the real rate, they say you must adjust the nominal rate by inflation. Real interest equals nominal interest minus inflation. It seems to make sense. Suppose you have enough cash to feed your family for 2,000 days. Then, the general price level increases by 15%. You still have the same dollars, but now you can only buy groceries for 1,700 days. You've been robbed, some of your purchasing power stolen. Therefore, you want to earn enough interest to overcome this loss. This view is flawed. Normally, you don't spend your savings, only the income on it. In ancient times, people had to hoard a commodity like salt when they worked. In retirement, they sold it to buy food. Modern economies evolved beyond that with the development of interest. Retirees should not have to liquidate their life savings. Now let's imagine this idea of correcting the interest rate using the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. We'll skip over the problems in trying to measure prices and avoid the controversy over whether CPI does a good job. We'll just compare two retirees from two different eras. Clarence was retired way back in 1979. Suppose he had $100,000 saved up. According to the St. Louis Fed, the CPI was 68.5 on January 1, 1979, and it rose to 78.0 1 year later. This means prices rose about 14%, what most people call inflation. According to the St. Louis Fed, a 3-month certificate of deposit offered 11.23%. There are many interest rates, but let's use this one for simplicity. The popular view focuses on his lost purchasing power. He begins the year with $100,000. That amount could buy some meat and potatoes. Clarence ends the year with $111,230 in principal plus interest. Liquidating that larger amount buys less hamburger and fewer fries at the higher prices at the end of the year. Therefore, Clarence had a loss, and the loss is interest, minus CPI, or 2.77% of $100,000, which is $2,770. I suggest another view. The interest afforded Clarence $11,230 worth of food. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median income in 1979 was $16,841. Clarence made 2/3 of his former income. That's about right for a retiree without a mortgage or commuting expenses. He could eat pretty well. Although the falling dollar did erode his wealth, we're focusing on how Clarence experiences interest in the real world. Now consider Larry, a recent retiree. Larry has $1 million in savings. CPI actually fell over the past year. Interest on a 3-month CD is negligible, 0.03%. Again, we're not focused on whether CPI is accurate. Just grant for the sake of argument that some prices dropped and this was matched by a rise in others. In the standard view, Larry appears to be better off than old Clarence. Larry lost no purchasing power, unlike Clarence's loss of almost 3%. This is deceptive and misleading. The stark reality is that Larry earns a scant $300 in interest. He can't afford groceries on his paltry sum, so he's spending down his savings. The median income was $52,250 in 2013, the latest year available. To earn 2/3 of that, and match Clarence, poor Larry would need over $116 million. The notion of nominal interest paints a misleading picture of Clarence losing purchasing power and Larry keeping even. If you look at what they can buy with the interest on their savings, yield purchasing power, you see that Clarence was living well, while Larry is quickly spending down his life savings. To hear more of our economic outlook, subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out all our media appearances, podcast episodes, and more. See you next time.